The Shooting Range. In this episode, pages of history, ghost pilots from Biggin Hill. Special, the scariest machines of War Thunder, and Metal Beast's a hellish supercat. The M18 Hellcat is an American tank destroyer that is known for its efficiency both throughout history and on the hottest battlefields of War Thunder. Eager to get more firepower, its creators gave it a new turret with a more menacing weapon, giving birth to the Super Hellcat. The 90mm tank cannon is located in a rotating turret with a heavy caliber AA machine gun. There are 12mm steel plates that protect the front of the hull, the sides, and the rear part of the machine. The gun mantlet is 76mm thick, and the turret sides are a bit thicker than 30mm. The transmission is located in the frontal part of the tank, while the radial 460 horsepower engine is placed in the back. They are linked with a long shaft that goes through the entire hull. The tank weighs only 22 tons and can reach 72 kph on a good road. As you might have guessed, this machine is not going to tank every round. In fact, it's not going to tank at all. There's no reason for it to be anywhere near the front line where all the big boys play. On the other hand, nasty flanking maneuvers and sudden attacks from various ambushes accompanied with constant position changes, this is the Super Hellcat jam. Of course, speed is both its weapon and primary method of protection. Focusing on the actual weapon, the American 90mm M3 cannon has enough penetration rate to pierce most of its enemies at this BR in the front. 140 grams of explosives in the powerful APC-BC round can turn a lot of those penetrations into one-shots. And if you encounter something thicker, you can use your APCR round that goes through 285mm of armor at a 90-degree angle. Obviously, the game has lots of natural enemies of the Super Hellcat. Its open turret is a magnet for various pilots and their forward-facing weapons, and these attacks are often quite fatal. Another huge threat comes from rapid-firing AA weapons. A heavy explosive round can easily pierce the Super Hellcat through without causing any serious damage, but autocannons, on the other hand, will absolutely destroy its crew without a doubt. Finally, various heavy-caliber explosive rounds can cause a hull break, even if they simply hit the tip of the caterpillar that you've carelessly left without cover. So, yeah, the Super Hellcat is definitely a fragile one, but in one's capable and caring hands, it transforms into a merciless hunter. With cat-like grace, it can sneak behind the enemy lines and unleash hell, right before disappearing, as though it wasn't even there in the first place. Ah, that sound. You can't mistake it for anything else. This is the roar of a Merlin engine. Powerful, but calm, pressing and mystical, kind of whistling and slightly whispering. When there is a stormy night in the area of Greater London called Biggin Hill, with rain, wind, or nasty sleet, you can hear this roar in the air. You can hear it in the darkness, as if coming from somewhere above, or soaring right above the house roofs. And that's when the people living here close all windows, cutting the night horrors off from their comfy and well-lit homes. The battles of World War II are long over. Nazi bombs don't haul in the night, and the clawed vultures disguised as dive bombers don't turn their sirens on. These scary sounds are now replaced by soft buzzes of airliner turbines everywhere else, but not above Biggin Hill, and the locals know why. Many years ago, there was a military airfield not very far from the town of Biggin Hill. Those were the times of the Battle of Britain, when the Luftwaffe forces were furiously storming over the English Channel. They would come at night and bomb everything they could see. Leaving a candle burning would definitely kill you, as these moths of death, with crosses on their wings, flew to any light whatsoever. Of course, the British used nighttime fighters for protection, the Blenheims and the Beaufighters, but there wasn't anywhere near enough of them. Hence, they had to use anything they had, including the daytime Spitfires and Hurricanes, even though it was a guaranteed suicide mission for their pilots. Imagine, you need to speed up on a dark airfield, take off, find the enemy in the black sky, and after the battle, find that dark airfield again, and land on it using only the readings of your instruments and your gut. The roar of the engines was often a regular sound in the night sky above Biggin Hill, as these pilots were trying to find that airstrip practically by touch. Many people wanted to leave their houses and guide them with their lanterns, or at least light a lamp and put it on the sill, but they couldn't. Nobody could guarantee that the thing coming to that light would turn out to be a friendly Spitfire, and countless pilots didn't find their way back home, disappearing in the labyrinth of the night clouds and fogs, and vanishing in the dim starlight and the cold waters of the English Channel. But years were passing, the war had ended. Almost nothing reminds us of those scary days, except for the mysterious engine, roaring sometimes over the roofs of sleepy citizens. And you can say, nonsense, there must be a simple, rational explanation for this, and you'd be right. In 2012, some enthusiasts from the county of Kent did manage to take off in one of the Spitfires that survived. It took 8 years and almost £2 million British pounds to restore it, and its first night flight after that did start from an airstrip of the Biggin Hill Aerodrome. After that, this machine became a regular honorary guest of various festivals and air shows. That's your explanation. Rational, plausible. There's just one tiny little question. Have you ever heard of an aviation historical parade happening at night? And who would ever think of piloting such machines in cold rain and snow at zero visibility against a furious wind? So maybe, just maybe, it's them, these forgotten pilots of the past, trying to find their airfield in the night, always looking but never finding. And now, after the infernal cat from hell and the mystical story of ghost fighters, let's look at something really horrendous indeed. These are the scariest tanks in War Thunder. First to come through the night is the Independent, a British monster full of menacing turrets. Like the Leviathan, a creature of ancient myths, it slowly drives over the battlefield, clanging with its modules. It seems like nothing can stop it. The huge headlights, like frozen eyes, shine their light over the victim and then, well, that's not a bedtime story material, that's for sure. Somewhere over the hill we see another dark figure. It's the RBT-5, setting out to its next location. What happened to it? Whose mind was capable of producing this mechanism? With these guns, missiles, on such a tiny hull. But despite the looks, they're quite capable of tearing any enemy to smithereens. A siren is howling somewhere far away. It's the R3T106FA, fishtailing here and there. Now that's what you call a coffin on wheels. This harbinger of death is speeding down the road, looking for another habitant of that coffin. What's that? Another monster? The BM-824. Like the famous Headless Horseman, had no turret. But instead you can see, if you're quick enough, a menacing rocket launcher, 24 rockets clouding the sky, a real judgment night for its poor opponents. Finally, the Sol 40, looking like a grim hunchback who spent dozens of years in some basement and never knew any love or kindness. Crooked and overall unattractive, with all those antennae, it has proved to the world that it's worthy only relying on its battling skills. This is a moody but truly fierce creature. Let not one of you meet these monsters on War Thunder's battlefields on a stormy evening when an autumn rain is drumming at your window while the wind howls its song and the skies above Biggin Hill produce the one unexplainable sound of old engines. It's time to move to the last traditional part of the show, answering your questions from the comments. The first question today was sent by The Imperfect God. What is the fastest projectile in the game? Let's see. One of the fastest ones in the game should be the 3BM9 APFSDS round. It's used by the Soviet T-64A and T-72 tanks. Its starting velocity is 1,800 meters per second. Then there is a question from a player called François Joubert Raptor. Hello Gaijin, just want to know if in-game penetration values are based on real life, or are they to balance the game? Either we use various formulae to calculate penetration rates for the vast majority of rounds in the game. They are the same formula that are used by real-life specialists in terminal ballistics. There are some exceptions, though, some rare projectiles with unusual construction, because with them, those common formulae don't work that well. Those rounds are set manually, according to the most authentic reference data that we can find in their documentation. Another one comes from Koi Bam. How about fragging ships with a single torpedo? Either, well, that's just too easy for a challenge. There are usually dozens of kilograms of explosive in TNT equivalent in those torpedoes. One is often enough to sink even a big ship. Axed Murder asks, can you explain hull break? Hello there, no problem. Usually we deal with pinpointed hits in various modules, no matter if we're talking about rounds or fragments. But if you fire a really powerful round into a really unprotected target, it transfers a colossal amount of energy to the hull itself. The hit is so powerful that the hull loses its shape, its structural frame crumbles, and the machine becomes inoperative as a whole. And this is what we call a hull break. There is also this question from Christian Medved. Does Blast Force actually kill the crew in the game or just fragments? The in-game HE rounds have two damaging effects: fragments and the blast. Both matter, and both are capable of damaging the target's modules, as well as crippling its crew members. And the last message for today was sent by Brandflakes. The narrator has been with us for so long, I think he should get his own episode. Have you watched a video on our channel called Thunder Stories? It's not exactly about me, but it's as close as it gets. If you haven't seen it yet, don't hesitate to watch it. I'd be really pleased if you did. Well, guys and gals, this is it for today. You've been watching The Shooting Range by Gaijin Entertainment. So come on now, subscribe to the channel, trick or treat, and press that bell button. Now you gotta leave a like and tell us what you think in the comments below. See you in a week.